The warning came 3 cycles before the Armada arrived. Winnie stood at the observation deck of the Terran Corvathi Joint Station Harmony's edge, watching the distant stars shimmer against the void. Her reflection ghosted across the reinforced glass dark eyes, cropped hair, the insignia of the human Corvathi Alliance on her uniform. Behind her, the holographic display flickered with urgent crimson warnings. "They're calling it the Purification Fleet," Eric said, stepping beside her. His voice was steady, but Winnie caught the tension in his jaw. He'd been her partner for 6 years now, ever since humanity and the Corvathi had formed their unlikely alliance. 17 species, 400 capital ships. They're not here to negotiate. Winnie exhaled slowly. She'd known this day would come. When humans first reached the stars 50 years ago, they'd been dismissed as primitive newcomers curious, but ultimately insignificant. Then they'd met the Corvathi, a reptilian species on the brink of extinction, besieged by the galactic Concordat for refusing to surrender their mining rights. Humanity had done something the galaxy found incomprehensible. They'd helped, not for profit, not for territory, but because the Corvathi had asked. The alliance that followed had terrified the established powers. Corvathi tactical brilliance merged with human adaptability, and reckless innovation created something unprecedented. Within 2 decades, the human Corvathi alliance had become a force that couldn't be ignored or controlled. "How long do we have?" Winnie asked, 72 hours before they reached the outer markers. Eric pulled up the tactical display, his fingers dancing across the interface. "Command is evacuating non-combatants, but we're not running," Winnie interrupted. She turned to face him fully. "That's what they expect. They think we'll scatter like frightened prey." Eric's lips quirked into a grim smile. "I was hoping you'd say that." The Concordat had made their intentions clear through the official channels. The human Corvathi alliance was a destabilizing force, a dangerous precedent that violated the natural order of galactic hierarchy. Species were meant to know their place. Cooperation between lesser and greater civilizations was unacceptable. What they really meant, Winnie knew, was that they couldn't tolerate anyone refusing to bow down in the command center. Admiral Vexicle of the Corvathi fleet stood beside General Rodriguez of the human forces. The Corvathi's scales reflected the holographic light. His vertical pupils narrowed in concentration. "They outnumber us 7 to 1, Vexicle observed, his translator rendering his hissing speech into crisp English. "They always do," Rodriguez replied. "Winnie, Eric you to have the Khan for special operations. What's your assessment?" Winnie stepped forward, Eric flanking her. "The Concordat fights by numbers and doctrine. They've won every major engagement for 3,000 years using the same tactics. Overwhelming force, predictable formations, reliance on shield supremacy. They've never fought humans and Corvathi together," Eric continued. "They think they know what we'll do. That's our advantage." Winnie activated a new tactical overlay. "We've been planning for this. Operation Chimera." The assembled officers leaned in. What Winnie outlined wasn't a defensive strategy, it was something far more audacious. When the Purification Fleet arrived at the outer markers, they found exactly what they expected, a modest defensive line, clearly insufficient to stop their advance. The Concordat commander, Avelkari named High Executor Gentok, allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This would be over quickly. His fleet advanced in textbook formation, shields interlocked, weapons charging. That's when the humans showed them something new. The defensive stations weren't defensive at all, they were launchers. Thousands of small craft erupted from concealed bays, too small and numerous for the Concordat's targeting systems to efficiently track. But these weren't fighters, they were boarding pods. Impossible. Gentok breathed as his sensors reported the truth. The humans were attacking his ships directly, latching onto hulls, burning through airlocks. And they weren't alone. Corvathi shock troops accompanied them, their environmental suits adapted for ship-to-ship combat in ways the Concordat had never conceived. Inside the flagship Eternal Dominion, Winnie led her team through corridors filled with confused Velkari soldiers. Human CQC training met Corvathi tactical coordination. They moved like water, adapting to every obstacle. Bridge secured. Eric's voice crackled over comms from the Righteous Judgment, 3 ships away. "Their encryption is garbage. I'm into their fleet network. Winnie smiled as she placed charges on the flagship's shield generator. Tell me you can make them shoot each other. Working on it. The Concordat had never considered that their enemy might not fight ship to ship. They'd never imagined an adversary bold or crazy enough to turn a fleet engagement into thousands of individual boarding actions. Within 30 minutes, chaos reigned. Concordat ships found their weapons locked, their shields failing, their own point defense systems turning inward. Human Corvathi teams seized control of bridge after bridge, not destroying the vessels but capturing them. High Executor Gentok watched his perfect fleet dissolve into pandemonium. He'd come to erase an alliance. Instead, he was witnessing something that would be studied for generations. The day two species proved that unity wasn't weakness, it was evolution. 72 hours after the battle began, Winnie stood once again at the observation deck. The captured Concordat ships floated in formation around Harmony's edge, repainted with Alliance colors. Most of their crews had surrendered once they realized resistance was futile. Eric joined her, a medical patch on his temple, exhaustion in his eyes but victory in his smile. Think they'll try again? He asked. Probably, Winnie admitted. But they'll think twice. And maybe some of them will ask themselves why they're so afraid of cooperation in the first place. Below them, in the diplomatic chambers, the first representatives from 3 Concordat species were requesting asylum, asking to learn more about this alliance that valued partnership over dominance. The galaxy had come to erase them. Instead, humanity and the Corvathi had shown them a different way forward. Winnie turned from the window, ready to face whatever came next, because that's what the alliance did. They faced the impossible together, and they made it possible. Eric followed, and together they walked toward the future they were building, one alliance at a time. The end.